Today's video will be another thrift store challenge, and this time we are going to be diving into Amber Interiors. This was a website that you guys requested a lot of, so I searched through the website and now we're gonna go to the thrift store and see what we can come up with for a whole lot less. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started. There's a couple things to keep in mind if you're trying to achieve an Amber Interiors design style in your space, that it is all in the details. It'll either have like a little scalloped edge or a ruffled top. All of the pieces have these little intricate qualities that make it feel really special. Now, sometimes at the thrift store, you can just get really lucky right off the bat. No DIY is required. Like I found this $3 planter with a saucer already in it and a drainage hole, and it was perfect for a money tree I wanted to place in my office. Another important thing you want to keep in mind if you're trying to achieve an Amber interior style is she incorporates a lot of vintage in her design aesthetic. So I'm going to share with you the exact steps that I take to achieve this look. So to start, I find a planter or a pot that I really like the shape of. So I loved this ruffled quality of this planter, but the color was off. So the first thing I'm going to do is go in with an ultra matte spray paint. This one is called Down to Earth. Next, I go outside, I grab some mud and I water it down quite a bit. I don't want the thickness of the mud really to show through because as you can see in these Amber Interiors pots, it's still pretty smooth, but there is a lot of depth happening. And as you can see, it just makes a subtle difference overall between the spray paint and the mud mix. So once that has dried, now I want to go in and kind of deepen the overall color to give it that aged feel. And I like to use gel stain for this. Only problem with gel stain is it's a bit shiny. So then you want to mattify everything. You can use flour, but I think baking powder works the best. I think it just gives an ultra matte appearance. And I could definitely just stop here, but I wanted to give it a sort of green undertone. You'll see in Amber Interiors that she uses a lot of green in her decor, which makes total sense because green is nature's neutral. So I use this camouflage spray paint that is again ultra matte, and this is the end result. For the next project, it is to make a set of these Rakesh bells. So on Amber Interiors site, you can get a set of 3 of these bells for $150. And I was watching YouTube and I saw Evelyn Hernandez do this project, so I'll make sure to link her information in the description box below. So I don't have any just scrap bells, but I did remember when I picked this trellis up that had bells on it. To start this project, I'm just going to take my wire cutters and remove the 2 larger sized bells so I can attach them onto these shepherd hooks that I ended up picking up from Target. But if you don't have bells on hand, my recommendation is just going to Home Goods. You can get a set of 5 of these bells for under $8. So after I removed the bells, it was time now to distress them. So Evelyn used antiquing wax, so you can absolutely use that, and I think you will get a very genuine result, but I didn't have it, so I just ended up using gel stain, which was something that I already had on hand, so I didn't want to spend any additional money. And then to give it a kind of green undertone that you'll see of a lot of in patinaed brass, I decided to again use this camouflage spray paint to just give it a further aged quality. Once the bells were dried, I just sealed them and I popped them on each shepherd hook and styled them kind of staggered, just like Evelyn did, because they are the same height. And that really wraps up this project. It was super simple to create and it was so budget friendly. Amber Interiors carries a lot of really beautiful table lamps. You have that distressed kind of look on some, but then also you have this sort of like monochromatic shade matches the light perfectly. So I found this green lampshade, and as I mentioned earlier, Amber Interiors incorporates a lot of green in their decor. And you might remember this pink vase that I also picked up from the thrift store previously, so we're all in at $4. So I took my thrifted lampshade to the hardware store and I tried to just color match it as best as possible. And I ended up with this one again, this green camouflage spray paint. It isn't the exact tone as the light shade, but it is extremely close enough that I feel comfortable putting the 2 pieces together. And all that's left to do now so it can function as a light is to take a puck light and then just 3M it to the inside of where a normal light bulb would go. And this is the end result. If you're trying to really nail the Amber Interiors design style, you want to pay attention to the patterns that they're using in their textiles. So they use a lot of linear fabric and also florals, and all really in that transitional color palette. So you can find linear pillow covers or just pillows themselves at the thrift store, but I also like to check the fabric section. So I came across this fabric and it was just $2. I thought that it was the perfect sort of pattern because up close you could obviously see that it was a pattern, but if you're looking at it from a distance, it almost looks like a solid piece. And for just $2, this was a lot of fabric. So we're gonna actually do two projects with this piece of fabric here. So to start, I'm just going to separate everything. I found this Ottoman at the thrift store for just $6, and we are just going to quickly reupholster this piece of decor. And honestly, the current reupholstering job wasn't even bad, but it was like a velvety kind of material, and I think velvet's just a little bit heavy for summer for my personal liking. So the first thing I'm going to do is just remove this bottom piece with the 4 screws that have been screwed in there, and I'm going to cut the fabric, usually leaving about 2 inches of allowance on either side. Whenever you're reupholstering anything, I think a lot of people assume that you have to use a staple gun, and I have my staple gun here. I could have decided to use it, but sometimes it's just a bit like overkill. If your fabric is really thin, you can get away with it using a hot glue gun. Whenever you're reupholstering anything that is a square or rectangle shape, you want to make sure that you're focusing your corners first, and you want to work on opposing sides. So always kind of work in that diagonal pattern. And for me, this was a little bit tricky because again, this was a linear fabric and I wanted to make sure everything was nice and straight throughout. It also helps if you can kind of just keep working on the corners first, so that way everything else lines up nice and straight and you can just simply remove your excess when you're completed with this project. Another thing I like to do is just keep flipping it back and forth to make sure that everything is actually lining up perfectly, and all that was left to do was place the screws back into the base, and this is how it turned out. Now for the remaining fabric, I loved this sort of fringe quality that it had on either side of what was left. So I've been needing a really kind of long shaped lumbar pillow for my king size bed. So I decided that this would be perfect. Step one was just to cut the fabric down to the appropriate size and flip the fabric inside out, and then create a seam going down what would be the center of the back of this pillow. Now that our pillow is facing right side out, it's just time now to create a seam going down one side, so that way all of the filling doesn't just fall out and I still am able to maintain that fringe quality that I was really looking for. To save a little bit of money, I'm just going to use these down feather pillows that I already had and fill this pillow up and then close the seam off. This extra large lumbar pillow is over 60 inches long, and I think it gives a really custom feel to my master bedroom. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the wall decor you'll see on Amber Interiors. A lot of abstract, landscape, vintage inspired art pieces. But when you're at the thrift store, you have the availability, I think, to just be creative. So for example, I found this set of 3 wooden, almost like lattice shaped wall pieces. Now, I'm not sure if these might have gone to a window at some point. Maybe it was a room divider. I'm not exactly sure what these were used for, but that's kind of the beauty of it. You can kind of reinvent its purpose. A set of 3 of these wooden pieces was just $6, and then I got 35% off. So I brought them home, and the first thing my husband said was like, "Oh, where did you get all these trellises?" And I thought that that was a genius idea because that's something that I didn't even think of. I thought, what if we made it into a headboard for a queen bed? Or what if we used it as a room divider, like I mentioned earlier? Or maybe we could hang some plants on here with some hooks. Or maybe we could hang pictures. Or maybe I save it for Christmas and use it to put our Christmas cards on there. Or maybe it can become some sort of a bookcase or the base of a coffee table. But I'm curious to know from you guys, what would you use these wooden pieces for? Next up, let's talk about coffee table books. So obviously a book that I'm referencing constantly in this video is going to be the book called Made Living by Amber Lewis, who runs Amber Interiors. The imagery and the inspiration in this book is out of this world amazing. So I definitely recommend this book. But as we all know, coffee table books can be quite expensive. So I do recommend checking out your thrift store. You do have to do a little bit of digging, but you can oftentimes find at least a few that, even if you're just using them as filler, can be really impactful in a budget-friendly way. Another material you'll see a lot of in Amber Interiors, especially more of like a vintage style, will be wooden bowls, wooden vases, things like that. And this guy is $450 and so gorgeous, but I don't feel comfortable spending $450. I do feel comfortable spending $4 on this wooden vase. Now, I have so many wooden vases, so again, I can't keep everything. So just as I did with the pillows, I'm going to send this to one of you guys. Just comment down below that you're interested in this wooden vase, and I'm gonna send it with some florals that I would put with it. So if you're interested, just leave me a comment saying so down below. And last but certainly not least is to incorporate marble into your space. So Shop Amber Interiors carries a lot of different variations of marble on their website, and it's such a beautiful juxtaposition between that and these kind of rustic and aged wooden pieces. So whenever you're out thrifting, this is what I look for when I'm thrifting. I'll look for just like marble trays, marble cutting boards, things like that. I found both of these on the same day, which was really strange. And the smaller one was just $2 and the bigger one was $4. The other thing I like to look for are reclaimed kind of wooden aged pieces. So I found that Christmas candle holder, and I wanted to make something combining all three of these pieces together. So I thought about making a cake stand, but I really wanted to make some sort of like a tiered tray with these. So to start, I'm going to attach these two pieces together, and to do so, I'm going to use super glue gel. You can use E6000. I would not use hot glue in this case. You want something that's gonna have an extra secure hold. I like super glue gel because it doesn't take quite as long to dry fully. So I'm just going to center this and attach it to the bottom of this marble tray. Once that super glue gel totally cures, I'm going to flip it upside down and then super glue gel the base to the top of the black marble tray to get this sort of tiered tray effect. And that about wraps it up for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know which project or which find was your favorite, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.